conversations.
Yes.
What's going on here? Why this continue? And again, he's isolated on this. Republican leaders, I mean, hardcore leaders, McConnell, Ryan, they say it's Russia. They say they want actually harsher penalties. Why is Donald Trump picking a fight? It's not just with the Obama administration, it's with his own party.
Well, a couple things here. Number one, he wants the facts, that's for sure. There's no question that I'm sure that's exactly.
Okay, but Jeffrey Lord, come on, that's a little. It's a little. I mean, it's the intelligence community. I mean, we all want the facts. He's been getting briefed 3-4 times a week. You know,
Jim. Look. Let me just tell you here, and this is no news, whether it was President Bush and the weapons of mass destruction or President Kennedy. I have found a quote from President Kennedy in the New York Times in a story that the New York Times wrote on the CIA in 1966, and it says that after the Bay of Pigs disaster, in which JFK was so ill-advised by the CIA,
we know the intelligence community has made mistakes Kennedy before on the Bay of Pigs, on WMD. We know that.
Scatter it. All right, I'm saying to you, these people can make mistakes.
No question. They can also get things. They can get things right. They got it right that China hacked the U.S. They got it right that North Korea hacked Sony. They found Bin Laden. I mean, I'm not shilling for the intelligence community. It's basically the strategy, it seems, to say that
we need a new set of eyes
why believe
on the intelligence. We need a new set of eyes on the intelligence community. And I think that's what the president will bring. And let's be candid here. You yourself just reported a little bit ago that the Obama administration was concerned about this, but didn't want to bring it up during the campaign because they would, quote unquote, taint, or however you said it, the possible Hillary Clinton election. I mean, in other words, there's politics at play here. And I can assure you, as somebody who's been in the White House and worked on Capitol Hill, these bureaucracies are filled with politics on occasion. Let's not be naive about it.
That's a pretty broad charge to say that the 16 intelligence agencies are motivated here. What the president does with the intelligence is one thing, but you're in effect saying that this assessment is based on politics.
What I'm saying here is he wants to see the facts, the evidence. And by the way, no small thing here. If the story here is influence of non-citizens, Vladimir Putin and Russians or whatever, on the American government in an election, then that goes to every non-citizen who may have voted in America for the last election.
That's a pretty dramatic turn, Jonathan. We're not talking about that right now. Actually, Jeffrey, if we're talking about evidence, then let's see evidence of the 2-3 million people who supposedly fakely voted this election. But Jonathan, what's your reaction to this? What's happening here? What's your reaction to that line of argument?
So let's the other day about this. I mean, I'm sorry, it's out there.
Jeffrey,
let's investigate. Let's find out.
Okay, Jeff.
There's no basis. 3 million people who voted legally. There's just none. In fact, studies have been done, and they found like half a dozen people.
Okay, guys,
so let's drop that.
Go back to your corner.
Jonathan, what's your reaction?
Let me first of all wish my friend Jeff and Jim and Monica happy holidays, happy New Year. Haven't seen Jeff in a while. It's somewhat what I said in the last segment, and Jeff is going to like the first part of what I said, which is, as I said before, Jim, I don't trust the Central Intelligence Agency. I think it is wise for us to exercise a fair amount of skepticism if the facts are not presented openly to the American people. That doesn't mean that I don't think that Vladimir Putin is a thug and a xenophobe and a dangerous individual. I just think that looking at history, the CIA, and I'm sorry, they are trained to lie. This is what they do. If you go back to the Church Committee hearings in the 1970s over what the CIA did in assassination. Now, I am not defending, when I say that, Donald Trump. Let me be clear about that, because the second point I'm going to make, which I made before, and Jeff isn't going to like this one, part of the problem is that Donald Trump is not capable of understanding either what Russia did. He's not capable of understanding the difference between our nuclear weapon triad. He does not understand that over the last 30 and 40 years, Republican and Democratic administrations have sought to reduce nuclear weapons. Donald Trump is essentially foreshadowing an arms race. He is a dangerous ignoramus. And so when we're now confronted with the situation of trying to analyze this information, we're asking someone who is not capable of understanding
Respectfully,
this.
John.
Monica.
Respectfully, John.
Well, Jeffrey, I do want to give you a chance to get back in.
Reset these relations, and now they're in tatters. That's dangerous ignoramus.
Well, and Jeffrey, it's a fair point. The Obama administration started with a reset. It failed. George W. Bush started with, I could see into Putin's eye, ended up with the invasion of Georgia at the end. So successive presidents of both parties have misread Russia dramatically.
Ronald Reagan.
Monica, I do want to ask you what the view from inside the Trump camp is, because is it just that they see this push to investigate as a way to delegitimize his election, or is there also a sincere and substantive doubt that Russia is behind these attacks? Or perhaps is there both?
I think there's both, but I think the first is clearly the thing that gets Trump's goat. And, you know, he's responding, I think, to that when he says, let's move on. That's the most important thing. He's going to get an intelligence briefing next week. But come on, we know how he has responded to a lot of the intelligence briefings. He wants to move on. His advisors tell me we're going to go on American jobs. We're going to fight ISIS. And another advisor told me this afternoon that he is watching, and they're kind of shocked that Obama is acting tougher in the last 4 days against the two countries that Trump wants to improve relations with, Israel and Russia, than he's acted in the last 4 years against ISIS. So they're saying we want to be tough on ISIS, and suddenly Obama in the last 3 weeks of his administration is tough on Russia and Israel.
Well, there's a difference between Israel and
Jeffrey, I'll give
Russia.
you the last. Well, actually, Jonathan, I'll give you a last thought, and Jeffrey, before we go, we do have to go. I'd be.
Who gets the last word?
Jeffrey would never talk to me again if I didn't give him another life. But Jonathan, quick thought, and then Jeffrey.
I was just going to say, talking about Russian hacking.
Facts. That's all Donald Trump wants.
Talking about Russian hacking is
and
not
then
the
you,
same
Jonathan.
thing. Is not the same thing as the administration taking a completely moral and principled position to abstain from a resolution on Palestine and on the settlements, which the entire world but the United States supports. But now the U.S., with the entire international community, condemning those settlements as it should.
Okay, gentlemen and ladies, thanks to all of you. I want to wish you all sincerely a very happy New Year.
Same to you.
Okay, Happy New Year, everyone.